The whole sovereign citizen movement, if you even want to call it a movement, I've always found it to be quite interesting. There's a lot of people who claim that they're not technically citizens of the United States, but they're kind of what, citizens of the earth or something like that. And they follow what I understand is something having to do with maritime law. And they usually carry around a packet of information. So, in case they get pulled over, or in case they interact with the police in any way, shape, or form, they can just hand them some papers and tell them to read this, and this is why you can't mess with me. A lot of them, they'll get pulled over because they'll have either no plate on their car at all, or they'll have a paper plate that they make up themselves, and it says something along the lines of, I'm not driving, I'm traveling, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not too well versed in sovereign citizen world, but I have seen some clips and some videos, some instances where the police have pulled over a sovereign citizen. It never goes the way that the sovereign citizen thinks it's going to go. Usually they end up getting either arrested or fined or something along those lines. But I came across this one. This one's a good one. And this one has to do with a sovereign citizen. And the judge destroys the sovereign citizen with just one sentence. And the whole courtroom apparently erupts. And this is from the YouTube channel Fusion Wild. And what's great about the whole courtroom realm, the whole true crime sphere that's happening on YouTube, especially since the breakout of COVID, a lot of courtroom hearings, they've been streaming online, especially after COVID happened. A lot of Zoom courtroom hearings. I don't know if they use Teams or not, but most of them I see are on Zoom. But there's even courtrooms such as this one where they'll either stream the courtroom itself, or somebody will get a Freedom of Information Act request. And I don't ask me how they would even know about this situation happening if not for it live streaming in the first place. But people will submit a Freedom of Information Act request for certain courtroom hearings that are video recorded. And because it's a matter of public record, they'll release the footage to them, and then they'll upload it to the internet for all to enjoy. So whether if this one was live streamed or not, I'm not quite sure, but either way, it found its way onto YouTube, and it looks to be quite entertaining. So before I get started, even Wikipedia dropped a disclaimer here. Wikipedia, the sovereign citizen movement is a loose group of anti-government activists, conspiracy theorists, vexatious litigants, tax protesters, and financial scammers found mainly in English-speaking common law countries, such as the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand. It's very interesting. I thought that Wikipedia would have worded it somewhat in defense of the sovereign citizen, because I would say politically, and I think it's pretty obvious if you're aware of who sovereign citizens are, or if you've seen any sovereign citizen content, they politically lean toward the left, if you want my opinion. At least I believe that they do. I mean, maybe the word hippie might be a little too harsh of a word to describe a sovereign citizen, because not all of them are hippies, frankly. I mean, they're kind of all different walks of life. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get started with this one. Right before I do, let's just see if they drop any other info here. This unbelievable courtroom moment, a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen challenges the judge with bizarre legal theories, only to be shut down instantly. So yeah, watch as the judge delivers a single cutting sentence that silences the entire courtroom. And before I even watch, I'm going to bust out the subscribe for them. That way I will have a chance to check out this channel later. So without further ado, let's see what we got here. This is my first time watching this too, so.
Sit down in that blue chair.
Do I have to
sit down?
All right, folks, this one is an absolute banger. The judge in
All
this
right,
clip
let's
is hands
go.
down one of the most no-nonsense judges I've ever seen. He doesn't waste a second.
All right.
Completely shuts down this sovereign citizen in brutal fashion. You can literally feel the awkward tension through the screen as she struggles to keep up, tripping over her own words.
I mean, he kind of looks like he's, well,
to
no.
watch justice served like
Looks
this.
like he's listening
Big shout
intently,
out to
sort
old
of.
Squishy Gardner for digging up
Maybe
this
not.
gem of a clip. Let me know what you think. Are sovereign citizens just comedy gold, or do they seriously get under your skin? For
Most
me,
often it's
a bit of
comedy
both.
gold.
Now,
But
let's
they do
dive
get
into
really
this heated
annoying and
exchange.
frustrating.
Ma'am.
They really do. Especially when the police pull them over. I mean, there's some police departments, I'm sure they've completely had it with sovereign citizens. I guess you could
Take a
kind of
seat.
give him an A for effort and
In this blue
creativity,
chair.
but it just never works out for him.
Sit down.
Do I have the same
You
rights?
want me to hold you in contempt? Sit down. In
And they're
that
so
blue
entitled,
chair.
man.
Do I have the
Sit down.
there?
One more time. Sit down.
You ever heard of the word contempt? I have a feeling he might have dealt with her in the past.
Now you'll answer my questions. Got
He
it?
has had it. He's definitely had to have
Did
talked
you
with her
understand
before.
all of the rights and plea options that I explained to you?
Okay, so they've probably already been at it for a while.
Okay. Then I will enter no plea to the charges
I
filed against you.
Yeah, he's done
Well,
wasting
let me
wasting
just
time.
explain to you. You are charged, and I do have a signature on the citation which shows you've been served. You are charged with 1 count of no operator's license, a minor misdemeanor subject to a maximum fine of $150.
That's typical for sovereign
plus court
citizens.
costs. You also are charged with 1 count of expired plates. Also, a
That's
minor
also very
misdemeanor
typical of
subject
sovereign
to a
citizens.
maximum fine of $150 in court costs.
Well, and what's funny is depending on which state that you're living in, license plates really don't cost that much. And now, to be fair, in some states they are expensive. Like they don't go by the weight of the vehicle, but they'll go by the make and model and the year of the vehicle. So I know there are some states out there where renewing your plate each year can get into the hundreds of dollars, which absolutely blows my mind. So where I live in Florida, and they do it by weight class. So the vast majority, especially the passenger vehicles, the everyday car, truck, SUV, minivan that you'll buy, they're all the same price. Whether if you drive like a 1970 whatever Ford Pinto, or if you drive a brand new McLaren or something, like it's the same price for all vehicles because we're all within the same weight class. And it's something like $28 a year. That's about all it costs to get your plate renewed annually in Florida, and it's like including tax, maybe about $60 because you can renew it every 2 years if you want. That's usually what I do. I'll do the 2-year renewal for like $60, so I don't have to worry about it for 48 months. And it's dirt cheap. And although I don't know what state that they're in here, it wouldn't surprise me if it's more than reasonable or more than reasonably priced to have their plate renewed. But they just want to be defiant. They just want to push back. They want to play hardball, I guess. These sovereign citizens.
I object
What do you object?
She's objecting.
because I did not enter that plea.
Okay, so
You did it
tell
on my
me
behalf.
How you would like to plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no?
No contest. That's it. Just those three, lady.
First, I have to correct.
I want to
the
plead
standing,
habeas
which is,
corpus.
I am not the ens legis non begeer.
Jurisprudence.
I am the authorized agent to the decedent estate.
Decedent
I am
estate.
coming in here as the settler.
Yep, the
and
settler,
I want to settle
the
this
agent,
case. I
the
have
party on
sent
behalf
in a
of.
paper that is my declaration and affidavit of what.
Yeah, it's
I
one of those stupid games that these sovereign citizens play. Like they're she's claiming that she is not who is on the court docket, that she is not whatever her name was, Jane Smith or whatever. She's like, "No, I'm not Jane Smith. I'm the representative and agent of Jane Smith. I'm here on her behalf because I am not the person Jane Smith. I am the representative." It's these stupid ridiculous word games that they play, which is just absolute nonsense.
to do, which is to settle the case. I am willing to
My apologies to sovereign citizens. Maybe I just don't get it,
to the court
but I definitely don't get it.
for mutual
I mean, I get it, but
I do not want to continue doing this.
I mean, y'all never
I don't
win. It
have
never
anything
works.
to do with this. That paper that I signed, which is the summons, is
If
signed.
you fail once, try again.
the
However that
collectus,
saying
which
goes.
is void contract, and I reserved all of my rights on there.
It only has to work once. And then everybody will parrot that exact same
Is the
court
willing
hearing.
to give me mutual consideration today or not?
I will enter no plea on your behalf to these charges. I've given you 3 plea options to plead.
And you're just fumbling around,
I do not recognize anyone
wasting
in
our
this court.
time.
Okay, well,
I
that's
don't
too bad.
recognize you or the bailiff or anybody else in this court. I do not.
Well, you don't have to.
understand
You're
I
here.
will set this case for a bench trial. And
No.
In fact, we live in a simulation.
I have the
You're
right
not
to
even
a
real,
trial
Your
by
Honor.
jury.
Okay, no, you don't. Not in this case.
Yes.
Now, these are not jailable offenses, ma'am. You don't have a right to a trial by jury in this case.
All right.
You already have a jury trial scheduled in another case. But
Lovely.
Because you're facing jail time in that case.
Oh, great.
In this case, you're not facing jail time, only a fine and court costs.
Any
What kind of
thing that is above $25
litany of
in
charges
court
they've
of
stacked
law,
up against her?
has the right to a jury by trial, which is involuntary. Involuntary can't be violated.
I mean, it sounds like she tried to do her homework.
So I have the right to a jury by trial.
All right, so here's what's going on.
All right, give
The
it to us.
sovereign citizen in this clip insists she has a right to a jury trial.
Okay.
But let me break it down for you. The Sixth Amendment does guarantee the right to a jury trial, but only in
Right.
criminal cases where there's a chance of jail time, as the judge just pointed out.
Okay.
That doesn't apply here. She's facing civil violations, no driver's license, no valid plates, so this is a non-jailable offense. That
All
means
right.
legally
might
a
get
jury
jail time
trial
for
isn't even
contempt.
an option. Honestly, she should have just hired a lawyer. All she's really facing
Oh,
are
come on, dude. She's not going to
fines,
afford a lawyer.
no jail, nothing major. But instead, she's arguing with a judge who clearly knows the law inside
I don't
and
know
out.
her. I guess that's
What do you
unfair to
think?
say.
Is the judge being fair here, or do you feel like he's coming down too hard on her? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
No, well, I
All
mean,
right, let's get back to the clip.
dude, I would like to know exactly where this is, because if it's in, let's say, like Portland, Oregon, or just, I mean, name your blue city in general. I mean, I'm sure the court systems in certain regions in the country are just so fed up with sovereign citizens, because there are areas, there's pockets of the country where there's quite a few sovereign citizens, and they're pulled over all the time because they refuse to renew their plates, they refuse to play ball, they refuse to get their driver's licenses, and they end up with this really long rap sheet of these ridiculous misdemeanor charges. And it would not surprise me if this judge has probably seen dozens of these sovereign citizens, if not her, exclusively dozens of times in the past. And that's probably why he's at his wit's end with her.
5 years.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
We're going to set it for trial, and you're going to go to the clerk's window, and they're going to give you a trial date. Okay?
Rock and roll, that's what you wanted.
I'm just going to surrender the person to the court because I'm not coming back.
I don't know what that means.
You do
Surrender.
I don't know what that means.
I am not en sleeveless, non de guerre. I told
And
you.
I
guess
don't know
what?
what that means either.
Got me.
I've been practicing law for 36 years, and what you've just said to me has no meaning to me whatsoever. So,
Great.
yeah. So, ma'am, if you
I'm
don't
sorry
leave
you
the
feel that
courtroom,
way.
And if you don't go to the clerk's window to get a trial date, I'll have you arrested. and
Well,
hold
there
in
you go.
contempt of
Sounds like
court.
that's what she wants.
With what contract?
There is no contract.
What contract?
You're looking at the contract.
How about the Constitution?
You're looking at the one
about the
who's
supreme
going to
law of
be
the
able
land?
to- has the authority to be able to put you in jail and I'll hold you in contempt.
Yeah, damn straight.
So let me say it one last time, because we have other cases to handle today. If you don't leave the courtroom and go to the clerk's window and get a trial date, which is what I'm scheduling in this case, I will hold you in contempt of court and I'll have you arrested.
Woo. So what's your pleasure?
So, contempt of court for what?
He just
What contempt?
For
not going to the
doing
clerk, you
what
idiot.
I'm telling you to do, which is to go to the clerk's window and to get a trial date.
You're the trustee and I'm the beneficiary.
No, there is no trust relationship
No,
here.
he's the judge and you're the
I've drafted
defendant.
many trusts, and there is no trust relationship between the judge and you, the defendant.
Yeah, because you
You
broke.
are not the beneficiary, and nor am I the trustee.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just not how it works, man. Not how it works.
So move along.
You either go to the clerk's window now and get a trial date, or I'll have you taken into custody now.
Ooh, the bailiff is walking up on her. I think he wants to arrest her. Is that the gist of it? There's a little bit left. I wonder if there's any, final blow.
Once again,
No.
huge shout out to Old Squishy Gardner for finding this clip. It was seriously
Oh, I know Old
entertaining to
Squishy Gardner.
watch.
That's another YouTube
I
channel.
honestly really liked how the judge handled this sovereign citizen. We need more judges like him. Judges with a backbone who aren't afraid to shut things down when someone comes in trying to play games with the law. Sovereign citizens comes a clear message. I'm above the
Yeah,
law.
so that's the gist of it.
Their
Yeah,
argument.
Old Squishy Gardner, that's another YouTube channel. They post all kinds of courtroom videos and things just like this. And I'm assuming it's just a true crime community where I have no idea how they would have come up with this video unless maybe somebody just happened to be in the courtroom and they saw this go down or something. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but they're really good at what they do. just to try to find videos like this. I mean, that one was interesting. I mean, it wasn't, earth-shatteringly entertaining per se, but I mean, that just gives you a taste of what sovereign citizens are really like if you're not familiar with them. So anyway, I got one more over here. This one's also quite an interesting one. This one comes from Trial World, and let me bust out that subscribe button. And this one is the defense attorney Cook, the prosecutor, and Judge Fleischer finds no probable cause. Now, well, let me just go ahead and get started with it. It already has 500,000 views, only posted 4 months ago. So let's see what this one's all about.
Halfway into the shoulder and then jerked back into the lane. After previously having just gone through a green light. So there's no indication that he's allowing a vehicle to pass or anything like that. He went through a green light, entered the shoulder, and then jerked back.
So by your theory, then, any single person that ever drives a mere nanosecond to the right of an improved shoulder is now violating this offense, this transportation code.
He wasn't
This
just
law can't be like that. Good morning, Mr. Allen.
Okay.
Sir, you're charged with driving while intoxicated. Second offense, you're facing up to a year in jail and/or.
So I will say right off the bat, I'm not crazy about this judge. I've seen him on YouTube before. I don't really like seeing judges that don't wear the robe. I mean, there is a reason why they wear the robe. They're supposed to be impartial and be a symbol of non-bias and things like that. I mean, you could look up the technical definition of it, but there's good reason why judges are supposed to be wearing black robes. And he's actually dressed pretty good in this video. You know, he's not very loud, but if you look up Judge Fleischer in other YouTube videos, he more often dresses like a game show host. I mean, he wears very loud jackets that are like brightly colored, and he's always got the bow tie and whatnot. But as far as how he handles himself as a judge, he's pretty good at his job actually, and he's quite entertaining. But as far as appearance goes, I'm not too crazy about it. I think they're in Texas, and more specifically Austin. I think. Not 100%, but I think they might be in Austin, Texas, and maybe they might actually mention it in the video. But
probable cause, you have the right to remain
I don't know. We'll
silent.
see.
Hey, senor, hat off.
Senor.
We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
On December 28,
All right.
2024, the officer came to a stop behind the defendant's vehicle, and the light turned green, and the defendant's motor vehicle proceeded, and the defendant's vehicle immediately drifted approximately halfway onto the shoulder with other motor vehicles around it before the driver jerked back into the lane. Traffic stop was then initiated, and the officer made contact with the defendant, the driver, and sole occupant of the vehicle. The officer observed slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, unsteadiness on feet, and an odor of an alcoholic beverage.
Okay.
The defendant admitted to consuming one alcoholic beverage, and standard sobriety tests were administered.
Oh,
HGN
come on. We all know
676,
it's not just
the walk
one
and turn or
beverage.
one leg stand could not be performed due to the
Never
defendant
just
complaining of leg pain. The defendant was read the DIC and consented to breath. The result was 0.192. However, the defendant was unable to provide a second sample.
Oh,
and
that's
consented
quite
to a blood
intoxicated.
draw.
More than double the limit.
Mr. Allen, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. Does he have a license?
It's eligible, Your Honor.
All right. How many prior DWIs does he have?
It's one prior, Your Honor.
One
Okay.
prior.
Mr. Allen, I'm going to
Not
find
good.
that there's probable cause to go forward with your case, and I'm ordering you as a condition of your bond not to consume alcohol, illegal
Yep,
drugs,
no go,
or
dude.
prescribed controlled medication. You have a valid license. You cannot drive unless you also have valid liability insurance in your name, and I'm now placing a restriction on your license that you are not allowed to drive.
He's going to let him
in a
drive
vehicle
still?
that doesn't have an ignition interlock on it. If you're
Ooh.
caught driving a vehicle that doesn't have an interlock, I will revoke your bond, put you in jail. Do you
Uh-oh.
understand? I'm sending word and notice to DPS so that every police officer in the state is going to know if you get pulled over and you're driving a vehicle that doesn't have an interlock, they're going to arrest you on the spot. Do you understand?
Wow. How much do those damn things
I
cost?
see that you have a lawyer. Because you have a lawyer, I will waive your appearance. But
By the way, you may not believe me because I thought it was kind of unbelievable, but when Joe Biden was still president during the Biden administration, they passed a law and it was buried in something. I don't know. It was some spending bill, something rather. Anyway, all vehicles that are made starting in the year 2026 have to come with breathalyzer technology that's built into the car that's supposed to detect if the driver is legally impaired based on the alcohol content in their breath. Now, what does that look like? I don't know, but I believe that 2026 models are coming out now. So apparently it's built with technology so that if you are intoxicated, or the car itself is going to determine whether or not if you're too intoxicated to drive. So I don't know if it has some sensor that's built into the side panel or something, or maybe built into the steering wheel, and maybe it just detects your breathing, or I don't even know. But if it's going to require you to blow into a tube every time you start the car, I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, not everybody drinks. I don't drink. So, I mean, why the hell would I want to blow into a tube just to drive a damn car? I mean, I drive a 1999 Mirage, so I'm in no hurry to get a brand new car. And this recent law that they passed is a perfect example as to why I have no desire at all to get a newer car. But anyway, just a word for everybody. If you're going to buy a car starting in the year 2026, it's going to come with breathalyzer technology. So I guess if you're, I mean, I understand that it is for a good cause. It's for a good reason. I get it. It's going to help prevent people from drinking and driving. That's okay. However, it's just infringing just yet even more on our daily freedoms and just our ability to just, I don't know, man, just live in the free world. It just seems like they're just bit by bit just taking more and more away from us, especially with the cars we drive. It's getting absolutely crazy, but I couldn't believe it. I had to actually go see it for myself. I looked it up, and yeah, they actually did pass that. So, yeah.
But you must stay in touch with Mr. Stewart, and he will tell you when you have to come back to court. You don't have to waste your time coming back here, but you must stay in touch with counsel, and he'll tell you when you have to come back. You understand?
So I need to wait for him now?
We're gonna have you wait for him now, but after today, I'm gonna waive your appearance, so you don't have to waste your time. We'll just have you work and do your life while we get evidence, or while he gets evidence to work the case up.
Wait for him.
Right, I'm gonna have you sign a reset. I'll have you meet with Felicia for bond conditions, and we'll just have you waiting back for Mr. Stewart to show, okay? Please.
Right this way.
All right.
Moments later.
Moments later.
You ready?
Yes.
Come on up.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Hey, how are you? Mr. Stewart, what's new?
Sir, how was your New Year?
Great. We did PC on your case.
Okay.
We just did stand-up. What's your guy's name again?
My last name is Allen, Your Honor. I would like to make an argument on PC. I don't know whether.
Absolutely. I'm always ready to hear. So refresh my memory, what happened?
So in Allen's case, it was where the officer came to a stop behind the defendant's vehicle and the light turned green. The defendant,
But he had expired registration, right?
No, Your Honor. In this case,
No.
the defendant's vehicle proceeded through the green light and immediately drifted approximately halfway onto the shoulder with other vehicles around it and then jerked back into the lane.
Were there any other vehicles around when this happened?
Yes, the officer explicitly wrote there are other vehicles around the vehicle before the driver jerked back to the lane. So he went into the shoulder and there were other vehicles.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
All right.
My argument is, Your Honor, that, as far as what's actually alleged, says the light turned green and the truck along with several other vehicles proceeded, which obviously is in compliance with the law. The only argument that the state has made here elucidated is that they observed a Silverado drift into the shoulder with other vehicles around it. If he's drifting into the shoulder, that's not endangering any other vehicle. That's not an allegation of, the safety of
It could if he
anybody
hits
else
an
out there on
obstacle
the
and
road.
starts
The shoulder
flipping
is
across
away
the
from
road.
any other vehicles. Maybe he's doing this in an abundance of caution. There's no indication that it was dangerous or endangered any other vehicle, anything like that within the allegations. Furthermore, there's numerous
Yeah, but he was
reasons
twice the
why
legal
he
limit.
is 100% legally allowed
Allegedly.
to drive in the right-hand shoulder of a vehicle. I think there's 9 reasons in the state of Texas why a vehicle is allowed to drive in the shoulder. There's nothing here that alleges that basically he
Oh, this
committed
guy's
any
good.
sort of crime that would lead the officer to then stop him. This is insufficient information. And I would argue that there's not valid probable cause here on this case.
Huh.
I think he has a valid point where,
Yeah, because they
perhaps he's.
didn't breathalyze him before they pulled him over.
Like, and you're saying, well.
So that's not a
maybe he
factor at
did it
this
because
moment.
of this, but
Oh, I
don't
just
wanna
noticed
speculate,
this. Look, down here, Houston.
because
Not
were there other
Austin,
cars? I
Houston.
don't know. Was it dangerous? I don't know. I mean,
Obviously, I didn't see that.
Judge, but failure to maintain a single lane when there are other vehicles within the vicinity is a valid reason for a stop.
Right, but you got to articulate facts as well, right? So according to the statute,
Right, and I understand, because we've had this issue before where it's failure to maintain a single lane, but we're unsure if there's other vehicles. That I can appreciate and understand. But in this case, the officer did specify that there were other vehicles in the vicinity. And
Yeah.
under Texas law.
Yeah,
that
but
is
not in the
sufficient for
shoulder.
a stop.
I disagree.
I think that's their
think that
argument.
When we look at the statute for fair to maintain a single lane, the second half of the statute is that it endangered somebody, and there's no indication here that there was any danger.
It's, what is it, 545.060? Isn't that it?
Well, bust out Google Maps. Let's see where the hell it happened. I mean, if he clipped a mailbox and sent it flying into the roadway, I mean, that could have created a danger. I mean, if he struck something on the shoulder.
Just this way.
Five 545.060.
I'll say, man, they're bringing us some statutes now.
Unless that movement can be made safely. Shall drive as nearly as practical entirely within a single lane, and
What do they do with this fancy ass watch?
unless that movement can be made safely. There's no allegation here that the movement was
Yeah,
made
watches are
unsafe.
perfect.
There was
Judge,
anything
I
unsafe
also
about it.
have the list of, where under Texas law where it's permissible to drive on the shoulder, to stop, stand, or park, to accelerate before entering the main lane of traffic, to decelerate.
Let's do this. I mean, this is gonna take quite a bit of more time. So can you come back? Do you have anywhere else to go? Let me go through the arraignments, get everybody done and out of here, and then because this is gonna take quite a bit more time,
Yes, sir. Yes.
right? And then give you time
All
to
right.
take a look more, so if you need to, you two as well, if you want to try to find case law. Let me just go through, because I have another lawyer that's waiting,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll help you
I mean,
out.
come
but
on,
let me
man,
go get through
The
everything.
defense or the defense attorney, he was kind of on fire there for a minute. Like, with all due respect, Your Honor, you're breaking my stride here.
Hey.
I wanted to reapproach regarding the PC on Mr. Allen's case. I know the state has emailed me some cases that they wanted to cite to.
Morgan.
Judge. Morgan.
I don't know whether someone else wanted to speak
Start
to that.
shouting.
Yeah. If we may, upon reviewing case law, so as we've discussed before, so he did veer into the shoulder and then go back onto the lane. And in Hardin, failing to maintain a single lane with the added vehicle component is the danger that they provided in the case law that makes failure to maintain a single lane, unlawful. Furthermore, in cases such as Lamming and Martinez, the court added additional factors to consider for the officer.
They were doing
to
some
determine
homework
whether or
during
not failing to
break.
Maintain a single lane is unlawful, and one of those is the time component. In Martinez, it was at midnight or at 1 o'clock in the morning. Here it was midnight as well.
No, but one of the things is there's an element of unsafetiness, right?
Yes, and Your Honor,
Yeah.
there are other vehicles around. As the officer articulated in the dims, there are other vehicles around when he veered and then jerked back into the lane, as the officer put in the dims.
But I get it.
And then,
But where are the other vehicles? Are they next to him?
Are they
in
behind
front?
him,
Are they
front
in
of him?
back? He doesn't articulate it. All he says is there are other vehicles.
and furthermore,
Right.
Your Honor, what he did articulate into the shoulder, and upon looking at the statute for that, the Court of Appeals.
See, this is a good example as to why if you're writing a report, even as a witness, you got to be as descriptive as humanly possible, because even something as silly as that, like if the officer, if he had mentioned that there were cars alongside him, for instance, then they probably would have had a better case. But for them just to say vehicles were in the vicinity weren't descriptive enough. I mean, yeah, I mean, you just got to get as detailed as possible, I guess.
There are 7 permissible reasons to go onto the shoulder, and there is reasonable suspicion to perform a traffic stop where there is not one of those permissible reasons. And here, the officer did not, with those other vehicles saying he passed the green light and then go halfway into the shoulder and then jerk back, it implies that there is not one of those 7 reasons to allow another car to pass, to stop or park, or to accelerate before entering the main lane of traffic, or decelerate before making a right turn. None of those are present. None of the 7 reasons articulated in the statute on the Transportation Code 545.058 are present. So that alone, him going into the
And what's
shoulder
hilarious is
without
that
a
we all know
permissible
the reason why he
is
veered
enough
off
to
into the
perform
shoulders,
traffic
because
stop.
dude was drunk.
And that
I mean,
taking that into account with
but I
Hardin,
get it though.
which he
They
veered
have to
out
have
of
probable
the
cause to
lane
stop him in the
lane
first place.
with other vehicles around, provided enough of a community danger to allow the officer to perform that initial stop.
Man,
Where's the danger?
It would be the other vehicles present, Your Honor.
He doesn't articulate that though.
He does articulate that there are other vehicles.
All he says is there are other vehicles.
That is all the case law
Yo.
requires. He doesn't have to say there's a vehicle.
Judge
right
is throwing out a
right next to
curveball,
him.
man.
The case law requires that there be other vehicles within the vicinity for it to be.
Right. In the case law,
You don't know if it's in the vicinity, though. All he says is that there are other vehicles. That's so vague. You say other vehicles in the vicinity. He doesn't say that they're in the vicinity. He
Do
just
these
says
cops
there
not
are
have dash
other
cams?
vehicles, and that's so vague and conclusory.
Your Honor, the case law does
Break out the
specify
dash
only
cam,
the
dude.
minimal level of justification for the stop. In this case, that is enough where there's other vehicles around to provide that additional threshold for failing to make a single lane. In addition to no permissible reason to enter the shoulder, there's nothing there to indicate
Right.
there is a permissible
If we're,
reason.
taking,
Uh.
if we're taking outside of the failure to maintain a single lane, and we can go into the other part of the transportation code that this defendant violated, which is veering onto the shoulder. He did not do so for one of the 7 permissible reasons, and thus the officer has reasonable suspicion to stop it.
You're veering. That is 545.060, right? Isn't that part of your, isn't that that's the weaving, right?
It's a different one.
Because you
Weaving in
just
and out
said
of
that's-
lanes.
there's another violation of the transportation code.
Yeah, and it's under 545.
I mean, look, it sounds to me like the cop jumped the gun a little too quickly. He should have probably observed him a little longer, because if he just saw him just move out of his lane into the outside lane or on the shoulder, and that was the only time that he veered out of his lane, yeah, he probably pulled him over too early. I mean, I've seen cop videos where they pulled over somebody for drinking and driving, and they usually observe them weaving multiple times before they decide to pull him over. So it sounds like maybe the cop might have jumped the gun a little too
is
quick.
for
No pun
entering the
intended.
shoulder.
May I address the court, please, Your Honor?
Hold on, let me pull that code up. So that's 545.
.058.
The transportation code.
All right, let's see. That is driving on an improved shoulder. An operator may drive on an improved shoulder to the right of the main traveled portion of a roadway if that operation is necessary and may be done safely, but only if to stop, stand, or park, to accelerate before entering a main travel lane of traffic, to decelerate before making a right turn,
Okay.
to avoid a collision as permitted by an official traffic device. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. So in terms of their arguments about the driving on the shoulder under Lothrop, their case that they're citing, the case itself says, and I quote, merely driving on an improved shoulder is not prima facie evidence of an offense. That's their case. It says the exact, that doesn't benefit
I mean,
them
the
at
judge
all.
sounds like he's on
In
your
terms of
side.
pardon their own case, based on our review of the record and precedent, we conclude that the detaining officer did not have reasonable suspicion to stop Applee for violating transportation code section
Wow, he's going to get him off.
545.060. Again, that's their case. And in that one, that's where the vehicle's tires crossed over the fog line, just as in our case, into the shoulder. And in their own case, it says that was not reasonable suspicion. And so, I would like to, highlight these two cases because I think they're directly on point. I don't know why the state did. In terms of State v. Hernandez, which is 2016 out of the Fourth Court of Appeals, and I have the appellate case number, but I don't have the specific site.
My only concern is there an element of unsafetiness? That's all I want to know.
To just address one point briefly,
No,
in the case
doesn't sound
Lothrop,
like
they
it.
do say that really on an improved shoulder is not prima facie case evidence of an offense. However, if it states explicitly that the offense of illegally driving on an improved shoulder can be proven in one of two ways, either driving on an approved shoulder was not necessary part of achieving one of the 7 approved purposes which are articulated in the statute, or that it could not have been done safely. And here, we're again going back to the 7 articulated purposes in the statute that are not present here. He entered
What's going on
halfway
here?
into the shoulder and then jerked back into the lane.
Wrapping things up.
After
Yeah, we're getting close to
previously
the
having
end.
just gone through a green light. So there's no indication that he's allowing a vehicle to pass or anything like that. He went through a green light, entered the shoulder, and then jerked back.
So by your theory, then, any single person that ever drives a mere nanosecond to the right of an improved shoulder is now violating this
law.
offense, this transportation.
I mean,
code.
He wasn't
This
just
law can't be like that.
It wasn't just
No,
that. He went halfway
no.
in. So he veered halfway into the shoulder. It wasn't just like a little deviation. He said the officer said halfway into the shoulder and then jerked back into the lane. So He went out and then came back into
So
the
are
lane.
we supposing that that's like half a second of driving on an improved shoulder? Is it 1 second? Is it a minute? Is it?
I'm sure it should matter. I mean,
Because the legislature articulated 7 specific reasons why that would be permissible, and they wouldn't have.
If an old grandmother who is 70 years old is driving on a freeway and accidentally,
And but that would provide the minimal justification just to perform.
Yeah, that's still dangerous, dude. Because an
to
old lady
investigate.
who's prone
It
to
wouldn't
doing
be
that,
an
that could
arrest
happen
or anything like
anywhere.
that. It would just be the traffic stop would be
Oh,
allowed.
oops!
at that
I just
point.
hit a
I don't know.
bicyclist.
I don't think that the officer wrote enough in the report. I don't think that.
Yeah, he's
the
finding no probable
unsafeness
cause.
As far as,
Letting the guy go.
Saying that there are other cars around. I just don't think that there's enough.
Yes,
All right,
Judge.
I'll find no probable cause.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but I kind of don't. I mean, guess there's different schools of thought on that. That was kind of interesting. I mean, it wasn't really a banger of a video, not overly dramatic. It was just, an argument from both sides, which I mean, I thought it was interesting. It's kind of thought provoking, but I mean, if the guy's veering all the way off into the shoulder and then he jerks the car back, I mean, I think like if they had a dash cam or if they had it on video, that really would have helped make the prosecution's case. Or if the officer had observed him for a longer period of time, except for just that one instance that he went off into the shoulder and corrected, then yeah, they probably would have been able to get him on that. But the judge's argument with like an old lady, for instance, or maybe like a teenager who's distracted for a moment and like they look down at the radio or something. I mean, like that shouldn't be excusable at all because that could happen anywhere, not just on a highway or on an interstate. I mean, that could be in a neighborhood where, like I said, you have bicyclists or something like mailboxes or parked cars or whatever. And if you just veer over a little bit, you could really cause, quite a catastrophe depending on where you're at. So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting case, though. I mean, it was worth the watch, at least in my opinion. But anyway, that's it. See ya.